Right. So the first thing that everybody needs to understand is that this court allowed Trump to violate an international human rights law, an international human rights treaty that this country has been a party to for over 3 decades. Okay, the treaty is called the prevent can't send people to terrorist countries. I'm forgetting the name of the actual of treaty. But what it says is that you cannot send people to a third-party state without first ascertaining whether or not that state commits torture, tortures prisoners, violates various human rights. That's again, 30-year-old treaty in this country. Trump is doing that. He is sending people to third-party states that violate that international treaty, and the court said that that's just fine for now. What they did legally was that they lifted a lower court injunction that was meant to block Trump from sending immigrants away in this fashion. And they lifted that while saying that sometime later, sometime in the future, they might decide on whether or not Trump's actions are legal. So, 2 or 3 years, there's a good chance that at least 2 of the Republicans will come around and be like, actually, we shouldn't send people to countries where they're going to get tortured. But in the meantime, Trump can send people to countries where people are going to get tortured because they lifted the lower court injunction on what he's doing. And this is what the Supreme Court has been doing all throughout the Trump administration. As many of the viewers of this program knows, Trump gets defeated all of the time in lower courts. He gets defeated in front of Republican judges and Democrat judges. He gets defeated in front of Obama judges and Biden judges and Reagan judges and Bush judges and even sometimes Trump judges. Trump gets defeated, loses in the lower courts like the Jets lose football games. All right? But the Supreme Court comes in after the fact and basically reverses those losses, lifts injunctions, lifts the things that were meant to stop Trump, and doesn't agree with what he's saying, but they say like, oh, we'll just decide that later. And in the meantime, Trump gets to have his policies and continue his terror campaign against immigrants.
Let's go down that road a little bit, Ellie. Like you said, they continue to lose at lower courts, and of course, you've probably already talked about this. The whistleblower that over at the Department of Justice is saying that Emil Bove was out talking bad in these email streets, talking about we should just ignore the law, just defy the law and see what happens to us. But could you spend a minute helping us understand the importance of dissents?
Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kodash, double honor unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000 men. Right, welcome back, to another episode. This one will be called Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, right? And you saw in this video, the guy was speaking about, the Supreme Court, and how, even though Trump gets overruled or loses at the lower level courts, whether it be a Democratic, a Republican, whoever will be the judge, at the end of the day, he ends up, Salakia winning at the Supreme Court level. All right? And you have to understand that's what these devils be about. All right? First and foremost, these devils break every law that they make, right? Even the Constitution. All right? And fair use this video is only for educational purposes only. Copyright disclaimer 1976. So these devils, from the history of America, all right, and these Edomites, ruling in America, and setting laws, treaties, etc. They've been what? They've been lying. They've been breaking every single one of them. When they came here, when they came to the Americas and Babylon, the Great America Central, they are, according to here, as the scriptures say, he breaks. That's a characteristic of Esau Edom. He breaks the covenants. This is Psalm chapter 55 and verse 21. In fact, let me go for verse 20. It said he had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. And why is that important? Because when this devil came here, the so-called white man, Esau Edom, to the Americas, the natives, which are the Israelites, the same You see him in Northern Kingdom, Israelites, the Latinos, the tribes, the 10 lost tribes, so-called. All right, they were at peace with him. Right? They helped that devil Columbus, give him food, water, etc. Took care of them. And what they turn around and do, they turn around and never put down the sword. Right? That devil, Cristobal Colon, aka Christopher Columbus, boasted about how he never put down his sword. He was only slaughtering our people. Right? So they broke the covenant. They pretend to be nice. They pretend to be benevolent. But really, they are a load of violent devils. All right? Verse 21 says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Right? So his words, smooth. Right? But war was in his heart. And it's just like Trump, he fooled a lot of our people. Namely a lot of the so-called Latinos. Right? The tribes, to vote for him. Because, he spoke good, but guess what? War was in his heart, right? His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So he already had the plan, to get rid of you jakes out here. And you Lord will not do another video to touch on that. You so-called blacks, you're not going to get away either. You tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, you're not going to get away either. Because he's coming for you too. He doesn't care whether you have so-called citizenship. Right, your so-called constitutional rights. He doesn't give a fuck about that. Right, he's coming to send you back home. Facts. All right, and this is just what it is. Let's get this precept here. Psalm chapter not Psalm. Let's go back here. I want Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Right, because this is what the devil be doing. He using the law against you. Right, all these executive orders that overriding your so-called constitutional rights. Right, the court system, the Supreme Court system, all right, which we're gonna get into that shortly. Overriding the other courts, which upholding the law, the real law of the land. Right, this is Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So basically, the Supreme Court here giving Trump the leeway to do what he have to do. To send these jakes, knowingly, best believe it's knowingly, to these countries who they know will torture people. You'll use torture techniques, right? And saying sometime in the future they're gonna check it out whether it's right or whether it's wrong, right? Which is all bullshit. We know they're not gonna do a damn thing. Why? Because sometime in the future not gonna come, right? These devils on the verge of the new world order, what they believe they're gonna accomplish. All right. It's Isaiah 10 and verse 2. It says, so they're gonna. In fact, let me read over verse 1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, right? They wrote down. Unfair laws. That's what the scriptures say when you go to the book of Habakkuk 1. It said the law is slack, right? Habakkuk 1 and verse 2, it says, O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. And who's the violent man? According to the scriptures, man, it goes back to the Roman Empire. Who the modern day Roman Empire is America, the European Union, and NATO, right? The beasts. And the horde that ride on the beasts, right? And these are the devils, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, the Israelites. All right? And this is what they do. They start off, they use their law, the draconian law, going back into Revelation 13, right? They had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke as what a dragon. That speaking is going back into the draconian laws, right? The wicked ass laws, right? It says, why dost thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. So it's really strife and contention. You have jakes here who been born in the States, generationally wise. The tribe of Judah been here for hundreds of years. All right. You had Benjamin coming in from the West Indies. All right. You had Levi coming in from Haiti. All of them in America for generations. And at the end of the day, hey, Trump basically telling you, hey, he don't give two fucks about that. He's going to throw your ass out. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. You're not a true citizen. In his eyes, the only true citizens are the Edomites, the so-called white people. All right. That's what you have to understand. All right. Verse 4 says, therefore the law is slack. The true law of the Lord is slack. Right? And even Esau's own law is slack. Hell, these devils don't give two fucks. They're just about their agenda. All right, they're hypocrites, they're liars, right? You know, that's what they come forth, to steal, to kill, and to destroy. It says, therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked that compass about the righteous represent who? Jake. Therefore wrong judgment proceeded, and that's exactly what he's bringing, the wrong judgment, the wickedness. All right, and let's see who sponsors. I asked ChatGPT, you know, who sponsors the Supreme Court in America, who really controls it. So here you have who really controls the Supreme Court in America, right? They said the Supreme Court is constitutionally so-called independent, but in practical terms, which mean what? That's this bullshit. Its control and direction are shaped by several powerful forces. Let's go through them. 1, presidential appointments and Senate confirmations. You have justices appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, right? You know, so therefore the president has a say in it. So those guys he put there obviously will be loyal to him, right? Studies confirm that justices generally reflect the ideology of the appointing president, with Republican appointed justices voting more conservative. So, you know, they're going to be for him. They're going to support him in his wickedness and his bullshit. Because why? They're biased. You know, they're for this new world order. It said the second point, the Federalist Society and Leonard Leo. The Federalist Society, a conservative legal group, has become a central incubator for judicial talent. Many of Trump's nominees emerged from its ranks. Wow. So you see that? There you go. It says Leonard Leo, a key figure within that network and allied organizations, play a critical role in building, funding, and advancing conservative judicial nominees. So you know they're going to be biased. Well, I like this point. Point 3, it says secret funding and ethical concerns, right? It says reporting suggests wealthy conservative donors. Who's this? Well, that's your banking elite, right? And going back into your B. Gates of hell, your Bill Gates of hell, your Elon Musk, all these people, and the mainly the 13 banking families. Those are the wealthy conservative donors. That's why I believe it was Michelle Bauer who said, you know, or one of those Rockefellers, Rothschild, they basically said that, you know, hey, you know, give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws, right? Because why? They can pay you to change the laws, right? They have control of the judicial system, right? They're the ones who financing, okay? That's what's going on. It says reporting suggests wealthy conservative donors and organizations fund Federalist, and here the Federalists going back into what? The Federal Reserve, the federal government, which ain't bullshit, nothing federal about that. It's owned by these devils, these 13 banking families, right? They fund Federalist Society aligned advocacy that supports judicial appointments and may cultivate close relationships with conservative justices, right? Notable ethical controversies have emerged around Judge Clarence Thompson, who received lavish gifts and vacations from what? From billionaire benefactors, raising questions about potential influence. No, raise no questions. It hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what's going on. Right? That's exactly what's going on. The shadow docket of strategic litigation. So it goes on to talk about these things, you know, internal structures. All right. So hey, it's all a sham. That's why this devil Trump can get away with it. Right? That's the reason why. Because these devils run the world. You know, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So it's all a fucking lie, right? This is Isaiah chapter 32, verse 6. It says what? For the vile person will speak villainy, right? You know, and his heart will work iniquity to practice hypocrisy, right? Saying you have a law, but you're breaking all of them, right? That's hypocrisy. And to utter error against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and you do so, you know, by doing that against his people, right? To make empty the soul of the hungry, that's Jake, and it will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. And that's what's going on in these concentration camps right now. People going hungry, people going thirsty, women being raped, you know, people being beaten, all right, being tortured, all right. That's what's going on right now. Let's read that in the NLT. It says, for fools speak foolishness and make evil plans. Why? Because the Lord is going to disappoint these heathens. All right? these heathens, they rage in vain. Right? Why do the heathen rage? And the people imagine a vain thing. They're not going to have the new world order fully implemented. All right? It says they practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord. They deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty. Right? It says the instruments, going back to the King James Version, the instruments also of the churl are evil. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh upright. So it says in the NLT, verse 7, the smooth tricks of scoundrels are evil. They plot crooked schemes. They lie to convict the poor, even when the cause of the poor is just. Yeah, they some of you jakes. And so it's not going to be just jakes who haven't fixed up their paperwork and who ain't legal. It's going to be you jakes who legal, who fix up your paperwork, everything, and whatnot. And it's good for you, because you know why? And the Lord protect, the men of the Lord across there, the elect. But for you jakes who've heard this word and you haven't repented, right? Hell is about to be brought upon you. This devil is coming down with great wrath because he knows you have a short time. All right? He knows you have a short time, so he's coming down with great wrath using deception. All right? Okay? And anybody basically who criticizes these devils, they're going to want to send you ass out. You had Trump even making comments about reporting devil Elon Musk, which we know that's just bullshit. But at the end of the day, you jakes are the target. Because this devil wants back his birthright. Right? And although he can't get it back, he's going to try his utmost best to destroy you jakes. Alright? But in vain, of course, in vain. That's what's going to happen. In vain, these devils are going to do it. Because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to disappoint them. Let's get one more precept. Psalm 2 and 1. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Right? To destroy the Lord people. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So they're gonna come in, they're gonna destroy a lot of you, Jake, but the elect is gonna be preserved. The few of us who have to be martyrs, Lord willing, whoever, we don't know who's of that number, but at the end of the day, we're gonna be raised back from Yahweh Shai first. All right, at his coming. All right, Lord willing, right? But, the rest of the elect going to be saved, going to be spared. Right, Psalm 2 and 4, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Because we best believe the Lord is angry, at the controversy of Zion. What these devils did to his people, you've helped for. We're already under the curses. But you all help forward the affliction, and you're still doing it. You're still sending jakes now to concentration camps, aka detention centers. All right, but that's the way the Lord set it up. But anyway, hey, this shit is happening. To Wada Yabashim Yahushai, the end is near. All right, the end of this man's kingdom is near, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. I pray this lesson was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom wa Harag Babal.